Hello, my friends. Welcome to Talk to Me Tuesday for Tuesday, July 29th, 2025. This is Jennifer. Right off the top, I did finish the t-shirt quilt repairs. That involved adding stabilizer to the back of all the blocks. I talked to you guys a little bit about that last week. So I added stabilizer to the back of all the blocks, and as you can see, this was the most damaged shirt. This is the one that I told you I thought I might replace, and then last week I told you I changed my mind. So I used the stabilizer and some matching thread, and I did a lot of zigzagging on this. I showed it to my husband. He's totally fine with it. So that is what I did. This is the only shirt that needed that much. There are several others, like this one needed just a couple, like I just had a couple little holes in it that I needed to repair. The blue one is by far the most damaged. Everything else was just like one or two little holes. So all the stabilizers on, all the holes are repaired. I also visited one of my local quilt stores last week, which is Austin Sewing, and I picked up this. This is an Alexander Henry. This was as close as I could find to the original quilt back. It was a paler color, but he wanted me to stick with like this sketchy fabric. So I will be getting this pieced sometime this week. I have put working on the quilts anymore this week on hold for now because I went through all of my needles for my quilt machine and I didn't have any ballpoint needles. I thought I did. I couldn't find them. They're all in one place. I tend to be really organized, so they're all in one place and I just didn't have any. I think maybe what I had was when I like ages ago, I had a sample pack that just had one, and I think I had already used it. So I ordered some ballpoint needles for my machine, and those should be in sometime this week, and then I will work on quilting that. I think that may have been part of the problem with some of the original quilting is there were a lot of little puncture holes in those t-shirts, and a ballpoint needle won't do that. It actually will push those fibers aside instead of just stabbing through. So I just want to make sure that I have the proper needle for quilting that. Since I couldn't do any more on the t-shirt quilt, I decided to work on a couple of other things. And the one that's probably most obvious that you probably have already noticed is this shirt. This is the test shirt that I mentioned that I was going to be making for my husband. This, it's a little wrinkly because I just washed it, and believe it or not, this is just how it looked like out of the wash. I'm really happy. This was a batik that I got on clearance, but I just wanted to test it first to make sure it would fit. I don't have a huge amount of experience making garments, especially something that really needs to fit. I've done a ton of costumes, which you can kind of fudge things with costumes, but I really wanted to make this right because this is something he would wear on a normal day, like for work or whatever. Batik is not really his thing, but again, this was my test fabric to make sure that this was going to work. So it did fit really well. He really loved it. He does not love the straight across bottom of the shirt. He would prefer more traditional curved and a little bit longer in the back. So this pattern doesn't have that, so I'm gonna figure it out. I figure that's a very minor change. It fits in the shoulders, the sleeves are the right length, it's long enough. He just wants a curve, so I'm just gonna figure that out for the next one. This shirt is the tropical shirt from Wardrobe by Me. It was extremely easy to follow. The pattern was so well written. They actually have a sew along tutorial that's the full shirt. I didn't even use it. I just ended up using the written instructions that come with the pattern because they were so clear and easy to understand. So if you're looking to try garment sewing, I really would recommend these patterns. This is the only one I've made, obviously, but just based on this one, like, guys, look at that. I made a yoke. Look at that with little pleats. Super easy to follow, super easy to follow. And he loves it, so I'm going to be making a couple more of those in the future with the altered bottom, and I really think that'll be fun. Again, my husband, I'm 5'5", he is almost 6.5 feet tall, he's just shy, and finding shirts long enough can be really difficult for him. So I'm really happy that this is a thing that I can do for him, and it took me maybe 6 hours to make, and that includes having to print out and tape the pattern together and get the pattern prepped. And I went really slowly to make sure I wouldn't mess up. So I have a feeling I probably could do it in more like 4 or 5 hours next time around. I did use my serger while I was working on this shirt. So I pulled out my little $4 serger pad that I got from ACR, and it was missing its little bag. So it has a little slots to slot the bag in. And I know that it does because I used to work in a store that sold these. So it should have had like a little bag that you could take on and off. It didn't. So I just used masking tape and taped on, I just taped on a Ziploc bag. And as you can see, it's got some little shreds in there. So this worked really well. I did have to kind of put my machine further back on this, but it did not slide off. This stayed stable. And the problem I was having with my machine sort of like hopping away from me while I was sewing didn't happen at all. I'm always happy when I find an easy, inexpensive fix. I got up Saturday and no one was awake, so I decided to come in my sewing room and work on the pieces for Jules's log cabin quilt. I had already finished the shirt. I had already put the quilt on pause, so I came in here and I did all the pre-cuts for the log cabin quilt. This is everything I need to make all of the filler blocks. And I don't know when I'm going to start on this because I have some other stuff I need to do this week, but I would really like to get to work on these pretty soon. This will be for her birthday, which isn't until October. I'm really excited about this, probably more than seems logical, because I haven't done a lot of traditional piecing in a while. The bookcase quilt was most certainly not traditional piecing. I've been doing a lot of other things like garments and things like that, a lot of repairs and a lot of tiny things, and I haven't done just sat down and just pieced and pieced and pieced in a while. So that I'm looking forward to, and I'm also just really excited that I have the opportunity to finish one of my best friend's UFOs. I just think that is such a fun thing to get to do. Speaking of other things that I need to do, I have earmarked one of my quilt tops for a gift, and the birthday that I want to give it for is coming up, so I need to get that quilted this week. I also have a couple of charity quilts that Jules and I have kind of traded back and forth, so she sent them to me with her Talk to Me Tuesday log cabin blocks. I'm going to go ahead and quilt those and send them back to her for her Project Linus. And so I'm going to quilt that quilt for her birthday and then get a couple of hers quilted and then go from there. And I have made arrangements with a very fabulous quilter to quilt my Star Trek quilt top. So it'll have a custom quilt job. So that'll be 2 things off of my personal to-do list and 2 things off of Jules's charity to-do list, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Hey friends, it is me from editing, and I just realized I totally forgot to tell you guys that I did publish the jeans crotch repair tutorial on Friday, so if that's something you're interested in, you can find that on my channel. That about wraps it up for today, guys. Thank you so much if you stuck it through to the end. I always appreciate knowing that you watched all the way through. I want to send a special shout out to my coffee supporters. You guys are there with me every month, and I appreciate you so very much. You help pay for all of Sew Hooked and all of Fandom and Stitches, and those are the places where I live in addition to YouTube online. So I really appreciate that. And the price of Fandom and Stitches has gone up this year because Google decided that, well, we have to pay for AI whether we're using it or not, and I am most decidedly not, but I still have to pay for it. Fortunately, it's only $1 a month increase, but it's still $1 a month for a free website. So your coffee donations and your super thanks mean the world to me. So thank you so much for that. You guys have a beautiful week. Have a crafty week. I hope you can take a deep breath this week, do something crafty this week, make something for yourself, make something for someone you love, and just in general find a little bit of peace. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.